starting with Cam Gigandet. Stephen Moyer. Karl Urban. Maggie Q. And priest himself, Paul Bettany. We're going to start a little conversation up here, and then we'll open up to questions in the audience. First, let's start with Scott. What drew you to this project?
Get a chance to work with Paul again. That was one of the things. No, I've been a big fan of Minwoo's work, and then I had read the studio sent me Corey Goodman's script, and I was just blown away by it. I thought it was a really amazing world. It was a really different take on vampire mythology that we hadn't seen before. It was a movie that felt like it was really about something interesting, and felt like it had a kind of a different take. It was also an opportunity to kind of try to create an entirely new world. And as you can see from the footage we showed you, there's a lot of really newly invented things that we designed and tried to create a world that was both unique but with familiar elements in it. And so it was all of those things.
Paul, this is your second time working with Scott. What does it add to the process when you're working with a director you've already got history with?
Well, I mean, I'd like to say you have a rapport and a shorthand, but we had that pretty immediately when we worked on Legion together, and we've just become really close friends. But the idea of working with Scott on something where he wasn't shackled by a smaller budget was really exciting to be involved with him on something that had such scope and as you can see, grandeur. I found that a really intriguing idea.
Maggie, the film looks physically exhausting when you watch it. It must have been to shoot. Does that add a special challenge as an actress when you're working with something that's that physical?
I think it always does, and I think for all of us it was a very physical film. Each and every one of us have a lot to do in this movie in terms of its physicality, but I think it's the combination of, Scott Stewart is very character driven in what he does, and his bigger picture is always about their journey and their interrelationships and what that means to the film in its entirety. And so to be able to always understand that and be mindful of that, but still be able to carry off a level of physicality that we had on this film was and is always a challenge, yeah.
Karl, can you talk to us about your character a little bit, for those who don't know?
Sure. I play the character of Black Hat. He is a former warrior priest who falls in the line of combat and is ostensibly lost. Everybody thinks he's dead, but that's actually not the case. He gets transformed into quite a formidable new force, a being that hasn't existed in this world. I kind of spend the most of this film wreaking destruction, chaos in the wastelands, and have a lot of fun doing it.
Stephen, could you talk about your role a little bit?
I play... Thank you very much. I play Paul Bettany's shorter, better-looking brother. Something I've dreamed of doing for a long time. Basically a scientist who has kind of taken himself away from the rest of society. He lives out in the desert with his wife and daughter, and is basically estranged from Paul's character. And at the beginning of the movie, we see the rest of the destruction that is going to take place, and
Paul's character and mine get together to kind of talk about it.
And Cam, can you tell us about Hicks a little bit, your character?
Well, I'm Sheriff Hicks.
He wears a mask through the whole movie, by the way. Yeah, sorry. No, just kidding.
What a waste.
What a waste.
Yeah. I play a sheriff of a small town, and Sheriff Hicks is young and immature, but he has this girlfriend who is kidnapped by the vampires. So I enlist Paul Bettany, priest's character's help in searching and finding and rescuing my girlfriend. But once I get out into the field, into this real life situation of danger and death and vampires, I quickly realize that I'm out of my league and out of my element and not quite the man I thought I was. But fortunately, through our journey, Paul kind of forces him to step up and be a man. That's it.
That's good. Scott, what about the decision to work in 3D? What did that open up for you as a director?
Well, we wanted to, I wanted to shoot film and I wanted to shoot the movie Anamorphic. And when you make that decision, we had talked a lot about shooting in 3D, and we talked about 3D in the beginning. And Don Burgess, the great cinematographer, who's my cinematographer on the film, shot movies like Spider-Man and Forrest Gump and Castaway and Contact and many other great movies. We talked about it. We wanted it to have a kind of nostalgic quality in terms of the cinematically, in terms of the kinds of lenses and the cameras that we used. But we'd always designed them. I designed the movie for depth, and in the part of the process, it was very important for it to be, when we made the decision officially we're going to make the movie 3D, it was really important. We had already kind of pre-planned everything out. Most of the visual effects you saw, for example, in that trailer, most of that trailer is actually truly in 3D. It's all rendered in stereo, and I think that makes a really big difference. We're also taking many months to do the process so that it is as seamless and as immersive and as high quality as the audience deserves. So whereas some pictures have gotten into a bit of trouble with this idea of conversion, it's just simply because the process takes a long time to do it well, and if you try to rush it out the door, it's going to be less than desirable for people. We're taking 6 months or more to do it, and I'm overseeing every aspect of that with the good folks at Sony, who are very experienced in creating 3D television and 3D movies, and we're doing it the right way. So I think people are going to be really pleased with the result.
The prologue in the film is really different. You made a really interesting choice there. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we, I wanted to tell, there's a whole backstory to the movie and the history of the human-vampire wars, and it kind of sets up our alternate timeline, our alternate history, our alternate world, and I wanted to, it's got a really epic scope to it. And I thought, what would be an interesting way to try to tell that story in a visually different way than maybe we've seen before. And of course, I love Minwoo's artwork, and I love animation, and I love 2D animation, hand-drawn traditional animation. We don't have enough of it in our movies that adults go and see in this country, as opposed to just having family films be animated. So I thought, I'm going to have an animated opening prologue to the movie, and if I'm going to do that, who better to do that than Genndy Tartakovsky? And so Genndy is here to share his experience with you. Genndy, could you come on up here?
Genndy.